The Benin Wall, or the Benin Moat, is a long-standing wall located in present-day Nigeria. Construction began in around 800 AD and continued until 1460 AD. The wall was built by the Edo people to protect Benin City, the heart of the Benin Kingdom. However, it was heavily damaged following the 1897 British Punitive Expedition, where the British invaded the kingdom, looted Benin City and burned it to the ground. The name Benin in this context has nothing to do with present-day Benin, and modern-day Benin City is located in southwestern Nigeria. At the time of this expedition, modern-day Benin was called the Kingdom of Dahomey. The Benin Wall was once 4 times longer than the Great Wall of China, standing at 16,000 kilometers. However, due to the British, it was partly damaged and therefore was destroyed. The larger segments have been cannibalized for the construction of new buildings. In 1974, it was recognized in the Guinness World Records, one of the world's largest man-made structures. It is now recognized as the second longest wall in the world after the Great Wall of China. The construction of the wall predates the Benin Kingdom, although its construction continued under it. The predecessor to the Benin Kingdom was the Igodo, named after its first king, Ogiso Igodo. The word Ogiso means ruler of the sky, and it was the title for all the kings that reigned in the civilization that dates back to 40 BCE. The Benin Wall was originally built to enclose the royal precinct of the king from the surrounding area, in other words, to protect the city from invaders. It was also built to control trade. Benin City turned into a majestic city with trailblazers and skilled workers who created bronze sculptures, ivory, and wood carvings, amongst others, from as early as the 7th century. In the 1100s, Igodo fell, and the Edo people asked the neighboring Ife kingdom for help. The king sent his son, Prince Oranmiyan, to restore the kingdom. Therefore, he chose his son Eweka to be the first king of the Benin Kingdom. The title Ogiso was changed to Oba. The Benin Kingdom flourished and was wealthy, with a well-structured hierarchy. In 1440, when Uware became the new Oba, he transformed the kingdom into an empire, where he rebuilt Benin City, the royal palace, and built an army. He also introduced hereditary succession, where the heir would be next in line to the throne. The wall protection of Benin City was beneficial. The next 4 Obas, who were known as warrior kings, won multiple battles, stopped rebellions by local chiefs, and expanded the kingdom's land area. Oba Ozolua, who succeeded Uware and won 200 battles, began trade with Europe. Both he and his successor, Oba Esije, sold various goods including palm oil, pepper, and ivory. However, the Benin Kingdom shrank in size after the last warrior king, Eheng Buddha, died in 1601. From 1601 until its downfall in 1897, the kingdom continued to shrink. Its trade with Europe grew bigger, especially with Britain, which grew very interested in the Kingdom of Benin since it was in control of the neighboring Niger Coast Protectorate, which claimed that Benin City was in the Protectorate's domain. Beginning in 1862, the British tried to get the ruling Oba to sign a trading treaty that would give them access to commodities in the area. They attempted this multiple times. In March 1892, a defeated Oba, Overamwen, signed a trade treaty with the British, but it is unclear how much the Oba actually understood the terms of the treaty, as he signed the treaty with an X and multiple people served as translators. As a result, this was a problem for the British to access the commodities because they believed that the Oba was not fulfilling his part of the agreement. In June 1896, the Protectorate appointed James Robert Phillips as its Deputy Commissioner and Consul. To force the Oba to comply with the agreement, Phillips requested a British armed force should be sent to Benin City, with Ivory funding the force. However, his request was denied by the Foreign Office, and he led an expedition of 9 men and 200 carriers without the office's permission. Phillips and his men arrived at Gwato. Gwato was an area out of Benin City where officials would meet foreigners who wanted to see the Oba. Philip's army was warned that any white man that entered Benin City would be killed. Philip's meeting the Oba was also very inconvenient, as it was during the Agwe festival, or the festival of yams. During this event, it was required that the Oba abstain from certain practices, such as meeting with foreigners. Philip ignored the warnings and continued with his quest. On January 4, 1897, Philip and his main party were killed. Only 2 British men survived. It is unknown how many of his carriers, which consisted mainly of African porters, were killed. The surviving porters were enslaved by Edo capturers. Within that week, the news travelled to London. On January 13, 1897, Vice Admiral Harry Rawson was appointed to lead an immense force to Benin City. An estimated 1,400 soldiers and 2,500 carriers, along with protectorate staff, medics and scouts. The British were already trying to find ways of overthrowing the Oba, and this was the perfect justification for them. The 1897 Punitive Expedition took place from February 9th to February 27th, where British troops burned villages and towns, indiscriminately massacred the Edo citizens, though the death toll remains unknown. On February 18th, they took over Benin City, where they destroyed buildings, homes and palaces, desecrated sacred sites and blew up a sacred tree. The British believed they were cleansing the city, thought to be associated with what they considered fetishes and juju, through their acts of destruction. They looted many objects known as the Benin bronzes, which were pieces of metal plaques and sculptures that decorated the Benin Palace. The British also stole 3,000 pieces of artwork. Some of these resources were used to fund the expedition, and they were all carried to Europe. The Oba and his 2 wives were exiled to Calabar, part of modern-day Cross River State, Nigeria, where he died, although he was allowed to be buried at the grounds of where the palace was in Benin City. The Kingdom of Benin was subsequently integrated into the Niger Coast Protectorate, succeeded by the Southern Nigeria Protectorate and then by the Nigeria Protectorate. Today, the Kingdom of Benin is the Edo state. Although the Benin Empire fell, the traditional royal line still continued, where the Oba's son, Oweka II, reigned as the Oba of the Edo people and worked with the colonial government. The current Oba is Eware II, who works as a government advisor and was Nigeria's ambassador to Angola, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland and Italy. His role today has been very important in tackling human trafficking, where he revoked all curses done by any juju priest who manipulated human trafficking victims. Almost every museum in Europe possesses art treasures from Benin, and very little effort has been made to return stolen artifacts, although a few have been returned. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you learned something new.